All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. It is July 12th, 2025. LFG, correctamundo. Let's go! Yeah, that's right, baby. That's right. So, uh, yeah, there's some Trump turmoil going on. We're going to cover that. And, uh, we've got a sun blast coming. Ben Davidson. Space Weather News. He used to be suspicious of observers. He switched his name. So we are going to be talking about that and a lot more. A lot of stuff with Israel, Iran, a lot of stuff with Russia, possible sanctions on Russia globally. That's what Trump wants to do. He's real ticked off about them. The Epstein thing is still giving blowback to the Trump administration. Trump put a Truth Social out that just got destroyed by his own base. You know, people want to see people get pain for what they have done in inducing pain on other people. And, as Tucker Carlson said, and I'll put it here basically, and I said this last week, uh, that whole thing is basically just an intel operation to blackmail higher up people so they'll do what a certain little subset of really incredibly powerful pieces of crap want them to do. So that's all it is. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's multiple agencies too, I'm sure. So it's just the way the world is, and it's a crappy thing. So you would hope that our world operated on like integrity and all, but it doesn't. It doesn't. There's a lot of to get that kind of power, you got to do a lot of evil crap, and so that's what that is. But anyway, we are now officially brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. Okay. I will have a link for the affiliate program, which basically gives me if you're considering such things, if you want to put your retirement into a gold or silver IRA, this is the top company to go to, which is one of the reasons why I decided to go with them. They approached me and I said, let me look at you. It took a few months. They approached me back in gosh, I think it was February, March. I was busy at the time. I just looked and I said, okay, let me check this out. Let me get to summer and get a little time and we can analyze. And I haven't found anything negative about them. So they're legit. They're not scammers. They're awesome. And I love working with them. So I'm excited, and I hope you guys will just give it a consideration. You don't have to do anything. It's like anything in life. If you want to just get some information, go ahead and click on that link and go look at it and see what they have to say. And if you don't like it, well, it's all good. That's what we like here. We like choice. We like freedom. We want you guys to be able to make your own choices and to do things that are smart. And the reason why we do the crisis report is to give you all the information in a small 30-minute little blip so you can go about your day and you're not clicking from one thing to the next. You know exactly what's going on. Okay. So, thanks to all my members like Water Tiger and Amanda from the Happy Hippie Homestead. I love that name. I'd like to thank Gene for being here, also a member, but also my fantabulous mod and others. Arc Living, good to see you, sir. And so let's get started now, 4 minutes into the crisis report. I apologize for not having one yesterday, but I had to go rock out, and we did it, and we did it well. we had a good old fun time last night, and so it's one of our favorite places to play. We went there, and it was awesome. I won't get too weird, Arc Living, I promise. Thanks, bud. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so let's get going. This is on your screen. I do it portrait mode because it puts us into the shorts feed, which just helps the numbers and all that kind of stuff. As you know, we are fighting the good fight here. So if you could give us a like, a subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Or as Gene said, please hit that thumbs up button. You can do it by double tapping your screen if you are on mobile. Okay. And we're going to get started. Okay. This is your crisis report for July 12th, 2025. I will not have a prepper now today. I already put a video out earlier, but it was date night for my wife and I. And so whenever that happens, we just kind of enjoy each other. I'm very lucky. I have a wonderful wife. So hopefully you have good people surrounding you too. And if not, well, I'm going to give you some good information. Here we go. A new study finds that AI tools slow experienced developers down by 19% despite expectations of a 24% speed up. There's all kinds of stuff going on with AI right now. I did a thing 2 days ago when I did my last report that talked about all of the different jobs that are being taken away because of, well, just different things, slowing economy, AI. A lot of them had to do with developers and computer science and engineering in the computer field. The computer field 5 years ago was touted as this big, super awesome place to get into, and you'll have a job forever, and yada yada. And here we are, just a few years later, and it's really becoming a dark hole of non-employment, and things are shifting. So AI is coming on strong, and it's doing some numbers on the computer industry. Trump's State Department fired over 1,300 staff, including 1,107 civil servants and 246 foreign service officers. Tesla is going to open its first showroom in India and Mumbai on Tuesday, aiming to start deliveries in late August. UK's F-35 fleet can perform only 1/3 of the required missions, largely due to a shortage of engineers, spare parts, and, of course, unexpected corrosion issues because, well, nowadays everything is made cheaply. It really is. A computer problem on the console of my vehicle, and I got to go take it in. Probably, it says $200 fix online, so I always take that in triplets. It'll probably be somewhere between 600 and 1,000, and that is this week's F and the B over, little what is my $500 to $1,000 things aren't made well thing going on. Like my video on PrepperNow called Planned Obsolescence. Everything is just poorly made now. It really is. Trump on last night's Russian-Ukraine drone strikes. Quote, you'll be seeing things happening. And the U.S. Senate Armed Service Committee approved a $500 million in military aid for Ukraine. Now they're saying this was all approved back when Biden was in office and yada, yada, yada. But a lot of people in Trump's side of the political aisle are starting to say, wait a second, you're doing a lot of things that you said you weren't going to do. There's blowback. Appeals court rejects plea deal for alleged 9/11 attack mastermind. Metadata suggests that FBI's Jeffrey Epstein prison video was altered. No, you're kidding. Deputy FBI Director Bongino is considering resigning over the Epstein files memo. FBI Director Kash Patel is considered resigning unless Pam Bondi steps down. I don't think any of that's going to happen. If anything, Bongino will leave. Maybe they're just doing CYA and they're all in on it because, they got to make it look like they actually care about this stuff. All I know is that if people are using that information and they're doing terrible things to entrap people, they need to go to jail. They need to go to jail. And people want to see people go to jail, especially when you consider some of the ages of people that are involved with that whole thing. They need to go to jail. They need to be in a dark place. And instead, everybody knows exactly what happened. We all know. We're not stupid. Hold on real quick. Whoosh. Trump weighs new military aid package for Ukraine worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The money would come from a $3.8 billion fund Congress approved for Ukraine support under Biden. You got to love it. You got a guy that's a recovering alcoholic that takes a seltzer can and imitates a beer commercial from the 1990s and 80s. Oh, I'm weird. Trump launch program, expedite, simplify visa process for migrant workers. It's not amnesty light. He is saying, everybody else is saying it's amnesty light. Tucker Carlson says the Epstein was working on behalf of Israel and Israel was committing crimes on American soil. Yeah, I mean, prove him wrong. Prove him wrong. Britain must build bomb shelters immediately to prepare for war with Russia in the next 5 years. Former British Army head General Sir Patrick Sanders said, "We did that video over on PrepperNow today if you would like to go cover a wide variety of things." But basically, the larger message from that video is that you need to be preparing. You need to be doing whatever it is to get your food, your energy, your medicine, and your security all together. As I stated over there, I got a tick bite. I have got doxycycline in my little prepper medicine bag. I immediately took 200 milligrams, whatever my wife told me to take, because, well, it's probably within about 36 hours because I'm out in the woods a good amount sometimes. And she checks me from time to time. So, it looks like it's been about 36 hours since. Her medical expertise said we need to take some just in case. Not sure if it's a deer tick or whatever. But I can say this. If I get that rare, like, you don't want to eat red meat thing just after buying a side of beef, I'm going to go find a certain someone who created this thing, whatever that is. And we all know where this crap is coming from. And we're going to have a little chit chat. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'll become a vegan. Yes, I'll become a vegan. And I'll eat soy burgers for the rest of my life. In fact, I'm going to go buy out the Beyond Meat section because there is never a dent in it in the local food, grocery stores. If you want to go buy that stuff, you can basically buy it and in fact, they'll probably give it to you. European Center for Disease Prevention and Control warns European beachgoers about sea bacteria that are thriving due to climate change. Also covered on PrepperNow. Trump will raise EU tariffs 30% on August 1st. United States Ambassador for Turkey says that the U.S. would allow Kurdish militant leaders in Syria and Turkey to resettle in America if doing so would help support their group's transition from armed struggle to civilian life. UK police arrest 46 people supporting banned Palestine action at a London protest. UK Met police chief says that racism in policing is still an issue in London. Gosh, I'm sure that's it. It's not like, one certain group of people does, terrible things, or you get the point. I'm sure it's all the police's problems. A report from the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, says the Secret Service failed to implement security measures ahead of the hit on Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania last year. Attorney General Pam Bondi orders charges to be dropped against Dr. Kirk Moore, accused of destroying Rona jabs, issuing fake jab passports, and injecting saline into children instead of the jibbity jab in a just chance to try to make her name seem like she's still okay. You know who she worked for as an attorney before all this? Company's called Pfizer. Government-backed report has found that anti-Semitism has become normalized amongst the UK's middle class. Co-authors concluded that anti-Semitism isn't seen as racism in the UK, recommending that Judaism be recognized as an ethnicity, a national policy for consistent police response, a government plan to ensure safety for Jewish members and professional bodies, and an anti-Semitism training qualification for employers. Trump says, let's not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Yeah, nobody cares. Adding that Obama, Clinton, Biden, FBI's Comey, and CIA Brennan created the Epstein files, calling it a fake hoax. He also says selfish people discussing Epstein hurt his administration. Also, Bondi is doing a fantastic job. Just come out and say, I'm not even going to say it. They were doing so well, they were doing. I was pretty darn okay with things. And then this crap came out. Couldn't they say you need more time? Like, at least just like ride out the clock and say, oh, we got years and years of stuff to go through. We got to be careful. And so, no. They come out and they thought, oh, we'll just chuck this aside and everybody's gonna be cool with it. Not happening. New immigration was sole driver of EU population growth last year, with Malta, Ireland, and Luxembourg at the top. Deaths exceeded births, continuing a trend since 2012. Eurostat reported that the EU population hit a record 450.4 million on January 1st, 2025. That is an increase of approximately 1 million from the previous year. Violent street battles between Spaniards and North Africans. Come on in! Following a brutal attack on a pensioner by a Moroccan, the guy looked like he had his clock cleaned, and now there's open battle in the streets of Spain. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is reportedly considering resigning. GTFO. California Governor Newsom's donor's cannabis farm was under federal investigation for child labor violations, according to Fox News. There's a little bit of a dust up there, shots fired. San Antonio man arrested for a threat against President Trump ahead of his trip to Kirk County, Texas. Ukraine says Russia fired 623 drones and missiles overnight. U.S. government saw its budget deficit widen from the prior year in the October to June period as spending rose, but customs duties surged to a record after President Donald Trump's wide-ranging tariffs on imports. Pentagon is urging Japan and Australia to clarify what role they would play if the United States and China went to a war over Taiwan. Financial Times reported on Saturday. Interesting timing. Japan is pissed off about the tariffs. Australia is, I don't even know what Australia is nowadays. It's my love and sadness to Labby. I don't know. I think they're just, the kickball teams are getting formed, folks. Yep, about to take mound and things are about to get rolling. Iran says any talks with major powers would focus only on Iran's nuclear activities, not military capabilities like its ballistic missile arsenal. Let Pam Bondi do her job. Yeah, do your frickin' job. U.S. Air Force deployed modernized F-16 fighter jets to South Korea, according to Newsweek, citing photos in a U.S. Air Force statement. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said that the Russians will do everything to prevent provocations directed against the DPRK. Russia represents a long-term and immediate threat for France, the head of the French General Staff said. Kremlin defined France to one of its priority goals, said General Thierry Burkhardt. So there's a major shift in the French ideals of what they're going to be. There's a I'll just get to it. It's coming up. Basically, France is changing a lot of its strategic thinking when it comes to military and who's on their side and everything else, because Orange Man bad. But then I got another piece that says that basically the modern EU is something akin to the Soviet Union. Russian weapons once again arriving in Iran. A Russian Il-76 military cargo plane landed in Tehran, unloaded its cargo, and returned to Moscow shortly after. Brazil's President Lula about Trump's tariffs. If there's no way to resolve through dialogue, every single tariff will be reciprocated. Country will not bow to anyone. Tucker Carlson says Epstein was working on behalf of Israel and Israel was committing crimes on American soil. Robotic gas stations in China are beginning operation. They find your fuel cap, unscrew it, fill your tank, and close it without a human helping hand, because Lord knows it's very tough to get out of your car and put the thing, hit a couple of buttons, and gas your car yourself. I will avoid the self-automated gas station for the foreseeable future. German Major General Freuding announced that Germany delivered long-range missiles to Ukraine for deep strikes into Russia. First Ukrainian long-range missiles financed by Germany will arrive in Ukraine by the end of July. Major General Freuding says such missiles are guided only through satellite support, which means that Germany will personally carry out the strikes. Putin supports Israel in the conflict with Iran, according to Axios. Russian Vladimir Putin told Trump, Macron, and Iranian officials he supports a nuclear deal banning uranium enrichment in Iran, despite publicly supporting Tehran's enrichment rights, Axios reports. Russian President Putin has also told Israeli officials he supports a complete ban on Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Israel has killed 79 Palestinians throughout the day in massive airstrikes, Middle East Eyes pointed out. At least 30 reported killed at aid distribution center operated by Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Chinese are making high-quality animated war movies for propaganda purposes. Accents are funny, but the visual details are very good. They even modeled Indian light tank Zoravar pretty well. Everybody is gearing up for war. Ukrainian defensive emplacements in the Dnepropetrovsk region have completely enclosed tunnel-like trenches. Ubiquitous Russian FPVs and drone bombers. Open trenches are now nothing more than a pre-dug gravesite. It's like World War I. Germany has designed a modular plastic trench system based on analysis of the war in Ukraine. A metal frame allows a rapid setup compared to wooden methods. The time savings are colossal. What used to take at least a day is now ready for use in a very short time. So great. Trench warfare is getting ready for the third installment. Drone factories are fueling Russia's unprecedented assaults on Ukraine. Russia's factories have begun churning out vast quantities of attack drones over the past year, producing a deadly fleet that is now taking to Ukrainian skies in record numbers almost daily. And after the huge attack on the 9th, Russia has now launched about 24,000 germs and decoys at Ukraine so far this year. So something like 125 per day for the Ukrainian estimate of 5,000 produced per month. Stockpiling at least 25% of output. Future of war friends is FPVs, UAVs, and drone warfare. So creating manned ships from here or fighter jets is just stupid. 2 Chinese government ships have entered Japan's territorial waters off the Senkaku Islands in Okinawa Prefecture in the East China Sea. Japan Coast Guard says the vessels crossing the Japanese waters around Taisho Island with about 10 minutes of each other from around 3:47 a.m. on Wednesday. JCG says vessels tried to approach a Japanese fishing boat that was operating in the area. Chinese vessels are equipped with cannons, navigating about 19 to 20 kilometers southwest of Taisho Island in a northeasterly direction as of 4 a.m. Chinese government ships were last confirmed entering Japanese territorial waters off the Senkaku Islands on July 3rd. It actually took 2 years of Japanese. The emphasis is in the middle. So they go Senkaku, Kyoto, that kind of thing. So, hajimemashite. Marco Rubio holds frank talks with Russia's Lavrov in Malaysia. U.S. Secretary of State said Lavrov shared new ideas on resolving the conflict, which he promised to present to United States President Donald Trump, but downplayed prospect of a breakthrough. It has just been revealed that the massive immigration raid on Camarillo, California, is against a marijuana farm who is suspected of a massive illegal hiring scheme. Hundreds of workers may have been detained, and from what I understand, he might even be a big donor to Mr. Newsom. Israel urges the United States to renew strikes on Houthis after the ship attacks. They've asked the United States to resume military action against Yemen's Houthi rebels following deadly attacks on shipping, Israeli media reported. Houthis had paused maritime assaults after a May ceasefire with the U.S., but recently sank 2 ships, killing at least 4. Israel told Washington the threat can no longer remain solely an Israeli problem, according to KAN News. Jerusalem is calling for intensified joint strikes and a broader coalition to counter the Houthis, warning that a united front is needed to deter further aggression. Massive haul of methamphetamine seized in one of Minnesota's largest meth busts ever. 2 men arrested on Monday after law enforcement seized nearly 900 pounds. That is a lot. Suspected methamphetamines worth approximately 1.7 million in what authorities are calling one of the largest meth busts in Minnesota history. 2 men, 46-year-old Joel Casasantiago and 44-year-old Guillermo Mercado Chaparro, are facing charges for their alleged involvement in the crime. President Trump announces that he will oppose any Republican that does not vote for his rescissions bill, which would defund billions from NPR, PBS, various USAID administered overseas humanitarian projects. Senate holdouts include Susan Collins, Maine, Murkowski, Alaska, Tom Tillis, North Carolina, who have all expressed concern over funding to public media and global health programs being rescinded through this measure, although some were citing impacts to soft power. The reluctance seems to be over PEPFAR, a global HIV program that has historically had Republican support and has signed into existence under President Bush. Trump administration urges that the program's funding has been wastefully spent, citing millions of US dollars traced to foreign prostitution rings, other support programs that'll get me demonetized, adult male circumcisions initiatives, and leftist non-governmental organizations. Senate has until July 18th to approve the bill, but it remains held up in committee. Jerome Powell is reportedly considered resigning his chairmanship at the Federal Reserve, directly following a letter sent by the White House yesterday, which accused him of exorbitantly using funds for the Fed's building renovation, luxury development, subsequently breaking the law by misreporting the facts of the renovation to Congress. Also comes after months of criticism by Trump against Powell's reluctance to lower rates while inflation subsides. Judge has ordered the Trump administration to halt indiscriminate immigration stops and arrests in Southern California. Good luck with that. Trump considering global oil embargo against Russia. Trump seriously weighing the introduction of tough secondary sanctions against countries that continue to trade oil with Russia, China, India, Turkey. Plan involves supporting a bill that would impose a 500% tariff on imports from Russia, effectively amounting to a global oil embargo. Times shift in Trump's stance is driven by his growing frustration with Vlad, refusal to engage in peace talks, continued strikes on civilian targets in Ukraine. Trump had previously called the bill too harsh, but now says he is studying it carefully. Outlet notes that the key concern is the risk of economic fallout. White House wants to ensure that the power to lift sanctions remains with the president, while Congress is pushing for more oversight. Analysts believe that even partial implementation of the measures could significantly damage the Russian economy. Trump administration is launching a program to fast-track H-2A and H-2B work visas for migrant farm, hotel, and restaurant workers to fill the shortage caused by deportations. Israel to U.S. don't sell F-35s to Turkey. Senior Israeli official has urged U.S. Congress to block the sale of F-35 jets to Turkey, warning it would threaten Israel's military edge and destabilize the Middle East. Officials cited Turkey's neo-Ottoman ambition, support for Hamas, and operations in Syria as key risks. Israeli officials warned of a growing risk of military clashes with Turkey, citing Ankara's goal to restore the Ottoman Empire and control Jerusalem. Israel prefers to avoid conflict, but it's ready to act if needed. Arnaud Bertrand on X. This is key. Okay, this is a little political sciencey, but this is kind of a big one. Okay, importante. Sí, sí, claro, importante. This might be the most remarkable geopolitical document I've seen come out of a major European institution so far this century. France's parliament has just produced an extraordinary 153-page report that calls for nothing less than a complete strategic realignment of Europe. The document systematically dismantles the EU's current geopolitical positioning, vassalized to the US, in the report's words, as a catastrophic failure that has led to the EU seeing its influence diminish and its interests poorly protected. A little harsh. I mean, I understand them wanting to be on their own, and trust me, I'm all for France taking care of France, but I think poorly protected wouldn't even really. I don't think that covers it. I think you've been. I think you've been overprotected, if I may. New U.S. Army tank platoon doctrine is out. Includes instructions for targeting quadcopters with the main gun of the M1A2 Abrams MBT. Netanyahu told Trump that Israel would strike Iran if it resumed its nuclear program. Trump does not oppose Netanyahu's request to strike Iran if it resumes its nuclear activity. American physicist and weapons expert David Albright. Satellite images from Wednesday show that all three entrances to the underground tunnels at the nuclear facility in Isfahan are still blocked, indicating that Iran is not yet making efforts to access the enriched uranium that is likely located there underground. So, Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed support for a nuclear agreement that would bar Iran from enriching uranium. Axios reported Saturday, citing sources, he reportedly conveyed the position to both U.S. President Donald Trump and Iranian officials. So, IDF is conducting strikes against the Hamas terrorist organization in the area of Bet Hanun. Short while ago, dozens of IAF fighter jets struck over 35 Hamas terror targets in the area of Bet Hanun in the northern Gaza Strip. Amongst the targets struck was underground Hamas terrorist infrastructure in the area. Economist Professor Richard Werner. The European Union is modeled on the Soviet Union. So, what do you think about that? I think this is a. I think this. Might want to listen up to this. Soviet Union claimed to be a democracy. Why? Well, it had a parliament, but the parliament had no power to actually come up with laws. That was the Politburo, of course, or as it says here. All the laws were written predetermined by the unelected Politburo. That's exactly what setup they chose for the European Union. Now you can click on that source and go further on that one, but I mean, yeah, you can't say that they're wrong. You know, it is really a technocracy, and that's what they want to set up for all of us. They want a technocracy because they think that they know better than all of us, and of course, well, you're not smart enough to be able to handle it, folks. New shipping company received from China a license to operate container ships along the northern sea route in the Russian Arctic this summer. Alex Soros has funneled $24 million into Zohran Mamdani's campaign in New York City mayor. If you want to be so socialist, Alex, why don't you just give all your money away? Okay, seriously, put your money where your mouth is. Okay, we all know you didn't need to earn a dime. Your dad did. So take that money and give it away. Be a good soul. Elon Musk's SpaceX is investing $2 billion in his AI company XAI, making up nearly half of the startup's recent $5 billion equity raise. And Ben Davidson of Space Weather News, also known as Suspicious Observers, issued a warning on X overnight about an Earth-facing coronal hole that could eject fast-moving solar wind toward Earth, potentially triggering elevated geomagnetic activity, including auroras and geomagnetic storms. High-speed stream is expected to reach Earth within days. Now that is a coronal hole. Whoa, mama, Davidson said, adding excess magnitude volcanic watch is in play now. Solar wind enhancement expected Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. On Thursday, Solarham described the coronal hole to face Earth that will begin impact Earth this weekend. He said a large coronal hole will begin to face Earth this weekend. A solar wind stream flowing from this zone is expected to reach Earth beginning July 12th, with the main influence by July 13th and 14th. It is possible that a geomagnetic storm watch will be issued in the days ahead. So there you go. We are, well, we'll see. That one's on Zero Hedge, but I thought it was an interesting one. So that, my friends, is your crisis report for July 12th, now 13th, 2025. We've been brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals, my sponsor. If you'd like to check them out, there is a link in the description. Friends, other than that, please keep prepping, doing the smart things. We are in a really terrible and crazy way right now. There's a lot of issues coming from a lot of people feeling that promises from the administration are not being kept and feeling duped. Also, everybody's getting ready for war. Even Europe, as stated on the PrepperNow video I did earlier today, basically, they're telling everybody to get ready. Everybody's telling everybody to get ready. Things are going on. I mean, we covered in this report where America's asking Japan and Australia, what would happen if we got into a war with China? Would you back us up? Would you help us? What can we do? Can we use your ports? Can we use your air bases? Blah, blah, blah. Even though we know a lot of them were built by us. But you get the point. It is a time of preparation. You should be preparing now and doing that with everything from your skills to, as we put here, food, energy, medicine, and security. Just keep doing the things, friends. God bless. Hit that like button. Consider becoming a member like Water Tiger and Gene and others. It is $2 a month. Also, there are other places you can go to find PrepperNow, like Subscribestar, where we have a nice community, Locals, where we have a nice community. I'm putting more videos out onto Rumble. You can find me on Gab and Minds and X and Twitter. And the Crisis Report is on Substack, where you can get an entire transcript of this. You can join for free, or you can give me a little something for the effort, like about 12 people do. It's a yearly kind of thing. But it puts that right into your inbox. Almost 500 subscribers, and you can follow the links to where you need to go. Other than that, friends, God bless you all. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you on the next one. We'll have a PrepperNow video tomorrow. I'll probably be live streaming in the afternoon, to be honest with you. Okay, and we'll go from there. God bless.